Thank you, Madam President. I thank Senator Hirono for her poignant remarks, and I'd like to offer my condolences to the family. Senator Daniel Kahikina Akaka died on Friday at the age of 93, leaving behind a legacy of integrity, kindness, and service to Hawaii and to the nation. In Washington, Senator Akaka was an ambassador of aloha. He showed people kindness, respect, and hospitality rarely seen in this town. He didn't just represent Hawaii's interests in the Congress, he showed the world what Hawaii represents. In the words of President Kennedy, all that we are and all that we hope to be. He started that service as a welder in the United States Army Corps of Engineers. He fought in World War II in the Pacific arena, traveling to places like Tinian and Saipan. When World War II ended, he took advantage of the GI Bill to attend the University of Hawaii and to become a teacher, an occupation that he never fully left behind. Senator Akaka served for 36 years in the Congress, 14 years in the House, and 22 here in the United States Senate. He was loved by colleagues in both parties because he was kind to everyone. In fact, he never said a bad word about anyone, not even in private. The foundation for his kindness came from his faith, which he learned from his mother, Annie. He was a faithful attendee of the weekly Senate prayer breakfast where he would lead members in singing hymns. He always began with the history of each song, a tradition he passed on to our own chaplain, Chaplain Black, who continues it today. Danny Akaka was also very humble. There were times he didn't get credit for the work that he did here because he didn't care about the credit. He cared about the work, about making a difference for people, especially those that he represented. He was deeply convinced that the government could improve people's lives because he had seen that in his own life as a beneficiary of the GI Bill. He would become the senator to modernize that bill, bringing it into the 21st century. He always fought hard for veterans, for their benefits, for their recognition, no matter the color of their skin or their country of origin. Once, when someone challenged him on the cost of benefits for veterans, he answered by saying, and I quote, "The price has already been paid many times over by the service of the brave men and women who wore our nation's uniform." Senator Akaka never forgot the costs of war on our country, and he did everything he could to make sure that his colleagues didn't either. He voted against the Iraq War and advocated for peace and nuclear non-proliferation throughout his career. Danny was unrelenting when it came to the causes that were most important to him. As the only Native Hawaiian to ever serve in the United States Senate, he never stopped working to see Native Hawaiians recognized in a government-to-government relationship with the United States. In his years on the Indian Affairs Committee, including as the chairman, he successfully sponsored the Apology Resolution, which recognized that the overthrow of the Queen and the only monarch in the United States was illegal and facilitated by agents of our own federal government. This was the theme of Senator Akaka's career, to advocate for people who did not have power, for people who were vulnerable. He was a champion for the federal government employees who continue to this day to be a punching bag for some. He sponsored the 2012 Whistleblower Protection Act, which ensures that federal workers cannot be retaliated against if they report waste, fraud, and abuse. And that was just one of the many things that he did to make the federal government a better employer. Senator Akaka also fought for consumers. He helped people who were trying to get out of credit card debt. He made sure investors had an advocate at the Security and Exchange Commission. And he protected people who sent remittances around the world so they aren't swindled out of their hard-earned money. Every morning, he would begin his day by meeting visitors from Hawaii. Those connections to his constituents, to home, drove his work and kept him focused on helping Hawaii. But much of his work was possible because of the bipartisanship and the relationships that he built with other senators. Some of his best friends in the body, Senators Inhofe, Cochran, and Barrasso, were people with whom he did not agree very often. Every member of this body, those who knew Senator Akaka and those who didn't, can learn from his legacy, a legacy of quiet leadership, of treating others the way you want to be treated, and of focusing on the things that matter to the people that we are here to represent. I want to end with a few words from Chaplain Black. This is what he had to say about Senator Akaka, and I quote, "There's something called ethical congruence. It refers to when your actions back up your rhetoric. And most of us struggle with that because it's very easy to say something, but much more difficult to live it. There's a verse in Scripture that says we are living letters, so our lives should be something that people should be able to read. Francis of Assisi said, 'Preach the gospel everywhere you go. When necessary, use words.' Senator Akaka preached the gospel everywhere he went and very rarely had to use words. That's the kind of ethical congruence that he had. The United States Senate and our country would be better off if there were more leaders like Danny. He fought for the vulnerable, promoted peace, and looked for common ground. Most of all, he embodied the aloha spirit and showed us all what it means to have a pure heart and be a true public servant. Our thoughts are with the family of Senator Akaka today, with Millie, his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren, and his staff. He will be remembered and greatly missed. I yield the floor.